Hello Year 7. So today's lesson is going to be on probability notation and the probability scale. You might have seen some of this at primary school already. So when I start talking about a particular thing, why don't you pause the video and see if you know what I'm about to describe or how I'm about to define something, and then you can unpause and see what the answer actually is. But the first thing you want to do is write down the title, which is probability notation, and the probability scale. The first thing we're going to need to define is what probability actually is. So why don't you pause the video, see if you can come up with a way of describing probability. So probability is a measure of how likely something is to happen. So probability is a measure of how likely something is to happen, and we measure it on a probability scale. Pause now if you want to have a think about what a probability scale might be. Make sure you've got this copied down. Pause the video if you need to. And we're going to say probability is measured on a scale. Which starts from, do you know? It's 0, and this is when something is impossible. And it goes up to 1, which is when something is certain. And we can draw a probability scale. So get this copied down, please. And then we can draw a probability scale. We can say that something is impossible if it is 0 or 0%, because we can write probabilities in terms of percentage as well, all the way up to certain, which is 1 or 100%. Halfway between the two is even chance, which is 0.5 or a half or 50%. If we are this side between impossible and even chance, then the probability of something happening is unlikely. It's less than a 50% chance. If we are between these 2 points, then it is likely. So make sure you've copied this down as well, please. Now what I'd like you to do is have a think about what events could go in each of these 3 things: impossible, even chance, and certain. So an event is a thing that happens. So can you think of something that's an example of being impossible, an example of having an even chance, and an example of being certain? Pause the video and have a think. So, examples for me, it would be impossible for me to fly without the help of an aeroplane, helicopter, or hot air balloon, because I do not have wings or any other physical feature which would help me fly on my own. There would be an even chance. This is always a boring one, isn't it? There's an even chance of flipping a coin and getting tails. There is an even chance of rolling a dice and getting an even number. There's also an even chance of rolling a dice and getting an odd number. And certain, for me, It's that I'm going to have porridge for breakfast today because I've already made it and I'm going to eat it straight after I put this video up. So the ones that the textbook come up with, it's impossible that money will grow on trees. They again go for the coins for even chance, and it's certain that the sun will set every day. When we talk about probability, we usually label events with a letter. So, for example, we could say that A is the event that we toss a coin and get tails. So that is the event that's happening when I flip a coin, and I hope in this case that I get tails. The probability of that happening, we would then say, is the probability of A, like this, and that would equal a half. So P brackets A means the probability that A happens. So this is a key bit of information, and this is an example to help you. So could you please copy this down first and then write this bit down as an example. Pause the video if you need to. The other bit of notation we can write is not A. So if A is flip a coin and get tails, not A would be flip a coin and get heads. Now, if the probability of A equals a particular value, so P, then the probability of it not happening is 1 minus P. And that is where A dash is the probability, is the event not A. So this is A and this is not A. So this is anything else that could happen instead of A. So if the probability of A is P, then the probability of not A is 1 minus P. So in this example, probability of A is a half. The probability of not A is 1 minus a half, which is also a half. So the bit in the green box is a key point, which I would like you to write down, please. And then you can write down this example all as one to remind you what A dash means. Okay, we are going to do an example now where we have to label each event on a probability scale. So here are the events A, B, C, D and E, and the probabilities for each one. A is 0.1, B is 0.25, C is 0, D is 0.6 and E is 0.4. So we now need to put these on the probability scale and label them. The first thing I'm going to do is mark for myself where 0.5 would be. This makes it easier then to put the events on the scale. So let's have a look down the list. Which ones are easy to mark? Well, this is clearly very easy to mark. This is 0, so C would go here. This one's also quite easy to mark. It's 0.25, so it's halfway between 0 and 0.5, so that can go there. D and E are either side of 0.5. So if I split this roughly into 5, 0.4 would be about here, so that would be E, and 0.6 would be about here, so that would be D. Finally, A is at 0.1, so that's about here. So I've now marked all the probabilities onto the probability scale. Can you please copy down that example? Once you've done that, that should be everything you need to have a go at the questions I've put up. Please message me on Show My Homework if you get stuck on any of them, and I will put up a video showing you how to do them.